Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.
To Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Welcome aboard the captain himself, Rick Bozich. And my, oh my, am I looking at something glorious right now, Rick. I am looking at the WDRB.com sports page, and I have stumbled upon the overtime show prep. A animated Rick Bozich and Eric Crawford. But as I look at that, I'm saying, all right, it reminds me of Fred Glass. If I had to pick somebody who that looks,
well, you know who I think it looks like? Those little.
No.
I think that I look like Steve Martin, and I think that Eric looks like Judge Lance Ito from the O.J. Simpson trial.
Oh man,
Do you agree or disagree?
I see the resemblance. I can't pull. I'd go with closer to Fred Glass.
Okay,
on
I'll
yours.
Fred Glass for me, but the Lance Ito thing, that doesn't he look like Lance Ito?
Oh yeah, it certainly fits in there. But nice. I was hoping those were like the little bobbleheads. I'm like, oh, I've got to have a Rick Bozich bobblehead, baby.
They're animated bobbleheads. We haven't got to the point yet. We need more viewers so we can get real bobbleheads. So all you listeners out there, download WDRB Plus, and you can watch our show a couple days a week.
There you go. Need more cowbell. Maybe if you add some cowbell in there, it would put it over the top. Speaking of needing more cowbell, teams need more players, and they are entering the portal by the tons nonstop as this tournament continues. That was a discussion earlier. I played the clip from Tom Izzo on him talking about it, and then Dylan Sin pointed out, well, last year at this time he was dipping into the portal, and Dylan also said that decision originally came from coaches like Matt Painter, who were in this little subgroup, and I'm like, well, of course, he's trying to protect high school recruiting because that's his style, but it's not very many other people's style, and I just don't see how that's going to work. But it's kind of similar to what happens in football, with the exception of during football, you've got the split of semesters. It makes sense. It's bad timing, but that's not the case here. So why can't it not wait 2 weeks to open?
I think it should wait 2 weeks to open.
You should have just said, I wish I knew.
They can't
set you up, baby. I'll set you up.
They can't get over the hump. I would say, they're causing a bit distraction. They're hurting the tournament, but the television numbers don't show that. They've had some of the best numbers they've had in many years in terms of viewership for this tournament, even though there haven't been any Cinderellas winning, even though there've been a few close games, but there hasn't been a bunch of them. You got a lot of the brand name schools still playing. So I don't know why it's this way. I wish I did know, because it does divide your attention to paying attention to the games, but every hour, did you see who went in the portal? I get a text message. Did you see who went in the portal? Now this one went in the portal. And it's not just men, it's women. As you know, yesterday was a unsettling day for Indiana women's team when
Alexis Bergesson, that was a little surprising.
Bargesser went in and so did Meister. And the day before, and Lamondola went the day before, and there's rumors of other ones going in. So and Louisville, one of their starters went in and one of their top freshmen went in, and Kentucky lost their most promising big man. This is women's basketball. So it's really going on everywhere. And it's, I think it's, if you're really not going to win the national championship or at least get to the, if you don't think you have a team that's going to go very far, you might be better off losing than you can get in the portal and try and build a better team for next year.
Or sign the players before you hit it for next year. I wonder when you can sign another NIL deal.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm hearing all these rumors of different teams already have commitments from different guys. They're just not going to be announced yet. So I'm sure that's been going on, and there's been back channel conversations going on everywhere, but it's the new world order, and every year they kind of try and change it and make it better and tighten it down, but we're not yet towards a good system. And the system we have now, I don't see how coaches get any sleep. I really don't. I mean, you're always worrying about who's on your team. Are the guys that are there, are they telling you the truth? Are they going to stay? And if they're leaving, do you want them to stay or do you want them to leave? And what is it really? How much money do they really want? And they've really got to be trying to see how much money can you really raise, and how much does this other school, or are they offering? Is that a legit amount of money they're offering? Is it a inflated amount of money that once that kid gets there, he's only going to get part of it? And I wish we knew more of what was really going on in terms of how much these guys are getting or being promised and how much they're actually getting.
Yeah, that we talked about that earlier with the Kevin Willard had mentioned that some guys are asking for $3 million to come, and I'm like, nobody is paying $3 million to a freaking college player. Now, I think that's
that
coming.
High school player who's going to BYU supposedly got more than $3 million. The number one
AJ DeBanza.
Yeah.
Boy, that would be surprising, because while he is a good player, a really good player, I watched him up close at Montverde earlier this year. I don't see him as a guy that can lead a team to, an Elite Eight. But BYU they've got a hell of a team now, and that's a team with a new coach. So BYU is a little surprising how they have jumped in to the basketball world. That's not a program that you thought of as basketball. Football, yeah, but not basketball. And man, they lose their coach to Kentucky and just hit the ground running.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're obviously.
What is it about the Mormons that love basketball so much all of a sudden?
They took out Wisconsin. They're motivated to get by this weekend. They got better recruits coming for next year. They're a player. They want to win. I'm sure, like a lot of schools, they say, you know what, if you're good in basketball, it's going to help enrollment at the school. It get more people talking about your school. It gets you out there in the forefront. They've been successful in the past, and they've been successful, obviously, in football. They won one national championship, so it's crazy. But yeah, the Kevin Willard thing. I don't remember any coach using his press conferences at the NCAA tournament for the purposes that Kevin Willard used them for last week.
Starting with the athletics director departure,
pushing the athletic director out because he didn't like him, complaining about how he wouldn't let the team spend an extra night in New York at Christmas time, complaining about the facilities, and just really not focusing on what his team was trying to achieve.
Well, and you see where he is now, sitting at home, but that's probably had nothing.
No, he's still in there. They're still playing.
Oh, that's right. I keep thinking they lost that game. That Derek Queen, I forgot, saved their butts.
Derek Queen and the no call on the. How would I change the portal access and the rules? I would bump it back till maybe one more week, where the only teams that get left out of it are the Final Four teams. Add another week to it. I know you can't do it because the courts are going to strike it down, but I really believe that you should be able to get one free transfer. And then if you transfer a second time, you do have to sit out a year.
But that's how it was set up, and they fought.
And the court struck it down. I know.
Well, the schools fought it. North Carolina fought that. They and other teams, but the football player, anything that they could do to get an advantage, even if it is not good for the industry as a whole, which it wasn't. They hurt this, not just them, but that's those kind of things started this. But all you have to do is, I keep talking about when people ask about Luke Goody getting another year. I'm like, all he has to do is threaten to sue the NCAA, and it's a done deal. Boom, boom.
You know, people push back against that and say coaches can leave whenever they want to, and they don't have to sit out a year. You know, I know Darian DeVries did leave after 1 year, but he's not going to leave again after 1 year and go somewhere else. What coach has left like 2 or 3 times in a 4-year period? That doesn't happen. I just don't think it's not good for the product to have the whole roster turn over every year. And I don't think that, and I know I sound, like old school Tom Izzo, but I think there's value in people learning to deal with adversity where they're at. And instead of saying, I don't like it here, I'm going to go somewhere else. And basically, there's such a feeling in that the responsibility isn't on the player, it's on the coach, or it's on the program that they didn't do something right for them. And, sometimes I'm sure that happens, but sometimes guys haven't waited their turn. They're not ready to play. They're not ready to have a bigger role. I just think that's a change that I would like to see. You can go one time. The second time you can still go, but you got to sit out a year unless your coach leaves. If your coach leaves, then you can go. But if it's the same coach, stay and try and make it better. Because I think back, this is the name that always pops out to me, is Russ Smith. Russ Smith had a phenomenal career at the University of Louisville. Phenomenal. He stayed here 4 years. He was runner-up to Doug McDermott for the National Player of the Year. He won a national championship. They put his number up in the rafters at the University of Louisville with Unseld and Tyree and Darrell Griffith and Purvis Ellison. If the transfer portal would have been here, Russ Smith wouldn't have been here 1 year because he packed his bags and wanted to leave, and then somebody talked him out of it. And it was a more difficult process then. And I think, how many other stories are there like that of guys who are at schools who wanted to leave but stayed and figured it out, and they learned lessons that will benefit them the rest of their lives?
Actually, I talked about something very similar earlier with Dylan, and I'll use 2 former Indiana players as examples: Umar Ballo, Caleb Banks. Caleb Banks wasn't getting playing time, wasn't getting the minutes. Boom, leaves to go to Tulane, has a good year, and all of a sudden, hey, now I've developed. But he didn't stay in Indiana. He didn't go through the adversity. He didn't deal with all of that stuff that helps in your growth. Then you've got Umar Ballo, who was just a bag man to me, bouncing from Gonzaga to Arizona to Indiana, just grabbing the cash as he went along. He was just a mercenary. So those are 2 different things. But Caleb Banks is an exact player of what I think that.
And now he's in the portal again. He went in the portal yesterday. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's just bam, bam, bam. And it's just, if you're going to a third team, that's a problem. That is a problem for somebody, and it's more than likely you.
Well, I mean, I did a column, and I've seen other people do charts about it, that of the 80 players who are starters in this Final Four, 50 of them have been in the transfer portal. 62%, well over half. Only 9 freshmen are starting, and only 1 team, which is Purdue, does not start a transfer. Every other team starts at least 1 transfer. 3 teams start 5 transfers. And one of those is Kentucky, which turned over its entire roster. But, it's just chaotic out there. And people have pushed back on the narrative that this has hurt the mid-majors. I saw Billis he did a video or something saying it was too soon to say that. But if you talk to mid-major and low-major coaches, they're pretty discouraged. Because the guys who are really good at that level, what they do is they find, under the radar guys who say, this guy might be need a little weight on him. This guy just might need his confidence, a little correction to his jump shot. I can make a player out of him. and then they make a player out of him. And then when he becomes a player, it's like, oh, see you later. I mean, there's something about it. And I know it's because I grew up under a different system. It doesn't seem right that you shouldn't be able just to do that.
And I understand how, because we have grown up watching sports, how they are, and enjoyed it. But if we look at the business world, which is pretty similar now, it's a business. But if someone goes to, say, WDRB and has an anchored position, but then they get an offer from a network or something else, they're going to go. And if they're contractually able to go, they're going to go. And that's understandable. But they're usually not going to bounce bam, 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 bam to 3 different places in 3 years.
Right. And if you're a coach, though, Scotty Bellarmine retired this year. Okay. He had his worst year at Bellarmine. Well, one of the reasons he had his worst year at Bellarmine is that I think within 36 hours before the transfer portal closed last year, he lost 3 starters. And one went to Chattanooga, and I think he played quite a bit. One was Pete Suter from Carmel, who started and had a really good year at Miami of Ohio. And the third one was Langdon Hatton, who played, some early in the year, but played a lot less once in the conference. And those guys would have all started and been the leading scorers at Bellarmine. And he understands that. But when they left 36 hours before the portal, I think, closed or whatever, he didn't have a whole lot of time to find guys to replace them. And it tanked their season. So I look at it, when I see human examples of this is the positive side, but when there's a positive side, who's suffering because of it? Well, programs like that.
Yeah. And there is truth to that. And I don't know what can be done, though. It is what it is. I don't think that you can put the toothpaste back in the tube.
No, you can't. You can't. I mean, Eric, while we're sitting here talking, Eric just texted me that Chris Mack just lost his best 6'10" center to the portal this morning, wondering, whether that's the kind of guy that a local player, 6'10" center from Croatia went in the portal. I mean, it's all, if you follow that one account, portal report or whatever, I mean, it's just a constant stream of this one. And I don't blame them, because you want to go in, even if you're not going to leave, find out what your value is. But we also need to get away from the name, image, and likeness thing, because nobody's getting paid for their name, image, or likeness, because very few of these guys can earn much money selling their T-shirts or their autographs or whatever. It's just It's being paid to play, to help the basketball team win. That's what it is, right?
Yeah, that's because the actual money that comes in for name, image, and likeness is minuscule. Compared. It's lunch money.
Yeah, you might be able to do a few signing events or whatever or a basketball camp or whatever, but nobody's buying these guys jerseys and T-shirts, not to the amount to pay the kind of money that we're here that they're getting.
At least Indiana, when they had Hoosiers for Good, they were trying to run it through the auspices of charities and doing work for the charities of sorts. It wasn't much still, but it was something along those lines. But you do see the people out there making commercials, but those are select few, the stars. And if it wasn't for that, very few people would make money from their name, image, or likeness.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper Flagg's in at least 2 that I've seen during the tournament. He's got that one where he high fives the people and
that says his grandma playing bingo, baby.
Senior Citizen Home, and he's got one other one, New Balance. I think he's on a New Balance commercial.
Mammy, so, I was surprised to see Hunter Dickinson in a commercial, because he seems like he has the personality of an amoeba. And
they have to make these commercial. They have to make decisions on these commercials so far in advance that they probably did that back in the fall and said which teams are likely to be playing late in the tournament. Kansas, who's their star player? Hunter Dickinson. Get him. That's be my guess.
Well, Indiana gets to and Darian DeVries gets to wade through all of this transfer portal mess, which in one hand is good, because he has the opportunity to completely build the program in his image from day one. He doesn't have a ton of leftover guys that he has to wade through. There are some that from Indiana that have not put their name in the portal yet. Miles Rice, Keenan Carlisle, and Bryson Tucker. Those three. Everyone else that is remaining, I think, has at least put their name in. But to see that those three have still not done it, and they had the opportunity to do it as soon as their season ended before anybody else, it's very possible that Darian DeVries may like what he sees in some or all of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, they still have plenty of time to do it. I'm not saying they will stay or they're not going to stay. I'll be surprised if all three stay, but
yeah.
There's just a lot of unknowns right now on IU of like who else is helping him. I hope nothing's been announced, but I hope he's got 2 or 3 people that are helping him, because that more work than one guy could do to try and figure out who they want and then trying to recruit them and
who's available, who fits,
who's available, how much money they want, what's our budget. I mean, it's a lot. And then still talk to the guys who are there. I think I did read he did exit interviews, or he's doing exit interviews with every player.
Interviews with each of the players.
Even the guys who, are seniors. He was wanting to know about
all
what
of them.
they thought,
Umar Ballo, all of those guys.
what they thought about the culture and what could be better and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure in a perfect world, if he can, he'd like to get to the state finals this weekend, because that was obviously a big that
was a big Mike Woodson thing, right? He got there. He was there all the time, right? No, I'm sorry, he was not.
I think he blew it off his very first year. That's when the Xavier Booker stuff started. So I think that would be very important for him to at least make an appearance there if he can get up to Gainbridge Fieldhouse this weekend. But yeah, I'm sure he's got people helping him. There's no way he can. Only name I saw was the strength coach guy that was coming from West Virginia. But in terms of assistant coaches or director of operations or whatever, I haven't seen any names, but I'm sure he's got guys there helping him, because he'd be overwhelmed doing it by himself.
Oh, absolutely, without question. And I wonder if in the exit interviews, DeVries, in talking to Umar Ballo, we saw some of the things that he said after the game ended in regards to the fan base and this and that.
Right.
So you wonder how much of what he gets from these guys that are leaving, especially going through what they went through during the Woodson tenure, which was not great. And how much they didn't see that because they're on the inside. They're not on the outside looking in. So I wonder how much that information DeVries got was, well, I know it was skewed, but I would be curious to hear that.
Yeah, I don't know. Ball's comments caused quite a stir, but if I had to guess, players at a lot of programs all around the country are getting the same kinds of messages from their fans when fans get angry. Let's not forget that Ryan Day and some of the Ohio State players got bombarded with stuff last year after they lost to Michigan in the
right before they won a national championship.
Correct. And the year before that, their quarterback got tired of all the hate that he got from the Ohio State fans and left and went to Syracuse. So it's not just an Indiana thing. It goes on pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, it certainly does. The captain, Rick Bozich from WDRB.com, is with us right now. We've got lots more coming up, talking about the NCAA tournament, Indiana's path to filling a roster and a staff, and anything else that you might want to talk about. We're back with more on the backside from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along as the captain, Rick Bozich from WDRB.com, is with us. Make sure you're giving him a follow. Rick, with the scholarships going from 13 to 15, I look at like an Indiana roster and just running numbers through my head of where I actually think things are. This is going to probably boost the needed money by double at a minimum, not because of the extra 2 players, but they're going to get more. The numbers are going to continue to go up. We talked about the 2 and 3 million thing. But if it was just $1 million each for each starter, that alone is $5 million. That's what was thought to be the NIL bank load for Indiana last season. So, man, it is going to continue to climb, but the revenue share kicks in next year, which I am sure is going to help not only Indiana, but a lot of teams who maybe didn't have the NIL systems in place. I'm not sure what Purdue's NIL situation is really like, so I can't comment to that. But teams that are lower in the Big Ten, Northwestern, for gosh sakes, think about a guy like Chris Collins, who now will have NIL bucks to spend.
Yeah. I mean, theoretically, it should level out the playing field some. I'm going to be curious to see how many coaches actually have 15 scholarship guys. It's hard enough to keep 8
Exactly.
or 10. 15, you got 8 are going to play and 7 aren't going to play much. And you got to have 7 really special kids to be happy with not playing much.
Well, I guess they're still glorified. I hate to say this, I don't mean it negatively, but they're in essence glorified walk-ons for
Right.
practice,
Right.
for practice during injuries and whatnot. And
Is
you
that
just
what the
gotta
deal
have
is
them.
too? If you have 15, there's no more walk-ons. Is that what it's going to be?
I think that is the case. It's why
Right.
it went up, but I have to double check that. In football, I think that is the case. They raised the number, but we'll have to. I think they're just trying to get everything into one bucket. That part of it, I guess, makes sense. And instead of walk-ons, I think you should still be able to have practice players, like the women's programs usually have, men's practice players to practice against. And I don't see why you shouldn't be able to do it, because some of the rules are just stupid. I'm like, so you can do this, but you can't say a recruit's name before they have signed a commitment agreement or whatever. I'm like, that's one of the dumbest things in the history of the world. Everybody knows who the hell we're talking about. You can pay them $3 million, but we can't say their name yet.
Yeah, that's a pretty archaic rule from a different time when recruiting was conducted in a different way. I imagine it'll go away at some point, but
how would you like to be Michigan and Justin Pippen in the portal while they're playing in the NCAA tournament?
well, wasn't there another game where a guy put his name in the portal 30 minutes after they lost in the NCAA tournament? I saw that one. So that immediately someone asked who's going to be the first guy to put his name in the portal at halftime of a game in the NCAA tournament, and it will happen. It will happen.
Yeah.
Somebody will lose control of their emotions and do it at halftime just because they're not happy.
If Umar Ballo had been a junior, I could have seen him doing that after the Purdue game, but the portal wasn't open.
Well, let me ask you, what is it? Indiana has actually like one player? Is that right for sure? Sisley?
Chris Sisley is coming for sure. Yes. He's their only 2025 commitment. Zerno decommitted. I'm not sure where he is yet. But at the same time, I don't know how many freshmen DeVries is going to want to bring in. Now, I'm of the belief that you absolutely do not want to bring in more than 3 freshmen. Now, with the expanded scholarship model, maybe that changes a little bit. Maybe you can bring in an extra 2 guys to fill those 2 spots, but you're probably looking at a couple of guys that you are training, that you are going to build up for them to transfer out, because unless they're really good. And if they're really good, they're going to be giving you minutes.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, unless they're kids that really just always dreamed of playing for Indiana. If they're out of state kids and they came, I could see the path to being unhappy and transferring would be a lot shorter path. And then they got 3 who aren't in the portal yet. You said it right: Rice, Carlisle, and Tucker. So theoretically 4. So they need at least 11 players at this point.
well, you got Tucker DeVries.
Oh, that's right. Tucker DeVries is going to come. So they really have 2 players. They got Tucker DeVries and Sisley.
They've got to find some good core pieces. I mean, the way that DeVries
I've read it. There's like some point guard too from DePaul that's probably coming. Connor Enright,
who I watched some videos on him.
Drake.
Everybody says, "Oh, his stats aren't great." This dude could shoot, man. Watching him shoot, I'm like, okay, IU does not have a player like that will take the shot. This guy takes the shot. He doesn't have to worry how to be perfect. I'm like, boom, that would work.
He had a high assist. Wasn't he one of the top assist guys in the Big East too?
He's a good player. I mean, he was not on a great team.
Right.
But yeah, it would be interesting to see if a lot of people have asked about Braylon Mullins, and no, I don't see him reneging on his commitment to Connecticut. Number one, he can always leave. But I don't see that, and he's a freshman. I don't think that Darren's, and I'm not on a first name basis with him, but I don't think he's going to be looking for that many freshmen right now. Maybe he's looking at it some for the future, but he has to build a team that can compete now in the Big Ten next season. So that is not going to be predicated on freshmen. Not that he doesn't want to get that started, but it's a lot to build at the same time because you're building two different things. You're building for today and for tomorrow.
Right, and he did that at West Virginia though last year. He built that team out of the portal. I mean, he got Small, who's actually a kid from South Bend originally. There we go. He's already talked and met with some key people in the state, reached out to AAU people, and been involved with the basketball coaches. That's what you want to do. You want to.
Well, and I know this. I know that he's met with Cicely's parents. He's talked. Trent was on with us yesterday. He called Trent 30 minutes after the announcement.
Oh, Trent, the player, was on yesterday?
Trent Cicely, yeah. And so the coach called him 30 minutes after it was announced. And I'm like, well, that shows that you're a priority because there's always concern. Is this coach going to want me? And obviously it was. They'll visit next week. The high school Chipotle Nationals happen at Hamilton Southeastern High School beginning on Tuesday. And last year, I think that was, when is the period close for coaches?
I think it's closed around the Final Four.
Because they were not able to go to the Chipotle Nationals, which starts on the 2nd. So it'll be interesting to see if he can go up there or not this year. I'm not sure. I'll have to check and see when those dates run out.
Most of the coaches go to the city where the Final Four is. It's a big coaches convention thing. They have and it's where guys line up jobs and stuff. And I imagine we'll know more about the IU staff after that all takes place. And I'm sure he's working on it right now. It sounds like, from what I've read, a couple of the guys he's working on are assistants at teams that are still playing in the tournament.
And that makes it rougher because those guys are going to have contacts with players that you might want to have, and that just strings that out a little further. Not that it matters to me, but just hope that you get those, because when you don't, now you have to start plugging in with pieces that you may have wished that you had gotten beforehand.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing about this. I mean, for DeVries, he just did this last year. He knows, I'm sure he learned a lot from last year. How did I do it? What could I have done better? Who do I need to get in here? How many people do I need to do it? And what players should I talk to? I went back and looked part of his history. He's got a pretty strong history of, it was an article on Peegs actually, and said that when he was at Drake, he recruited Indiana a ton, and Creighton and Drake, and he had a bunch of players, mainly from Northwest Indiana, actually. But he does have familiarity with the state of Indiana. And the one thing we haven't talked about is, I mean, haven't two of his recruits from West Virginia decommitted? I would imagine they would possibly be in play to come to Indiana.
Yeah, I think that I would expect that as well. But before that, there's all the stuff that has to take place beforehand. I'm not sure that they want to do it very quickly either to further aggravate West Virginia fans, which not that matters.
West Virginia hasn't hired a coach yet, right?
That is correct. So now they get on it. And I know one that's available. Someone earlier had mentioned I don't know that this is true, so I'm not saying this, but Woody had not cleaned his office out yet, that he was dragging his feet. I do not know that, so please do not take that for gospel. So there's there. Yeah, I don't know who West Virginia is going to get, but they've got $6 million to put in the bank to start with. So it's a good get for West Virginia. And you look at New Mexico, man, they had a great season. Now you lose Richard Pitino, and they just lost one of their best players to the portal. That's the thing, man. They're not going to be happy, but hey, you just had a better season than Indiana has had in 15 years or close to it. So enjoy the hell out of it while you can.
Yeah, I mean, they've had good coaches at that job. I mean, Alford was there. Remember that? Fran Fraschilla coached there. I mean,
he's done well at that level. Nevada and New Mexico.
Right. I don't know. We'll see what Indiana does. It'll be I'll be looking to see what kind of presidents DeVries has this weekend at the state finals. And if I were him, you could call Braylon Mullins and congratulate him on his season and congratulate him on Mr. Basketball and, say you've been an admirer of him and whatever, and let it go at that. And,
I like Todd Leary's idea. I would be showing up. He said I'd show up at his house and ask if he needs a ride to school.
Well, there you go. But I think then you move on to the class of 2026. I don't know. I mean, what about Singleton? Is that a guy? Do you try and get him to
that's something I've always wanted, because he's coached by a former Hoosier who is a hell of a coach. Sharon Wilkerson is just a great coach, great person. Trey Singleton's a hell of a player. Got size. He's 6'8". I think he's someone that they should look at. I knew that was not someone that Woodson would look at because he wasn't didn't have this name behind him, I guess.
Yeah, Jeffersonville's too far from Bloomington. He couldn't get down there to see him.
Yeah, it's an hour and a half away, man. That's but I guess they couldn't get the private jet to land there at Haps, so he had to wait. But I think it's someone that he should look at, because that's a kid who has really grown. I mean, in his last season, he's really a really good player, and getting those home state players has different advantages. You've got, even with this transfer portal era, you still have to keep culture and build a culture, and it's kind of not been there for a while. It's one of the things that Trent Sisley mentioned, said, hey, I really want to be a part of getting IU basketball back to where it needs to be. And not a lot of players are going to think or say that, because they can't remember the damn history, because there's not any history in their lifetime. But fortunately for him, he grew up in a family that were IU fans, and so he does know the history. And you have guys that are serious about that. I mean, Trace Jackson Davis was like that, and some of the other guys. But boy, you sure lose a lot when these players are just coming from all over each year. It's a whole different group.
Yeah, I mean, there's a sense that this year's team, it was transactional. I mean, the reason they're at IU was how much money they paid them, not because there was any overwhelming sense of they wanted to play for Indiana, or they knew what Indiana basketball was all about, or they knew what the expectations were at Indiana basketball. It was like, who's going to offer me the most money? And I'm sure that was the case for Ballo, and I would suspect it was the same case. Rice and Carlisle might have been a little bit different, because I think they had some kind of pre-existing relationship with Yasir Rosemond. But, you want to – I can say from being around it up close and personal that Louisville built a better team with a lot less NIL money. And the most impressive thing that Pat Kelsey did was that he got guys who did buy into the culture and played in many ways for each other and for the right reasons. And they weren't as many big name guys. Hepburn was, but Terrence Edwards and Javon Hadley and Rain Smith and some of these dudes, they were here for the right reason.
Yeah, they even have a theme song. Bag boys, what you going to do? Bag boys. I'm gonna have to record that. How about Fran McCaffrey over in the Ivy League?
Wow, good for him. Ooh. It's his alma mater, I think. Didn't he play there?
Yeah,
I read.
I did not know that.
I think he did. Good for him. He's not done yet. He knew Iowa was.
I can't wait. I want more FranCon. FranCon 9.
He's going to a one-bid league, so he can keep his cool until he gets to the Ivy League tournament.
Well, yeah, just keep on rolling, man. He's got the money. The coaches at this level, they have the money. They don't have to do it anymore, but what else would they do other than TV?
Yeah, and isn't his son going to play for Mata?
Anybody but him?
His youngest son? Yeah.
I think he'd already transferred there last season.
He did.
Yeah. So his family's in Indianapolis. His other son's in Indy, working for the old.
Yeah, Fran played at Penn, so he's going back home.
Well, there you go. That helped him out as well. But man, it's going to be interesting when we start hearing some names and start seeing things put together. But I think that Indiana fans are going to get a good dose of basketball next year. I think they're going to see a team that plays hard, that plays with fundamentals, that does the things they need to do. And wherever the chips fall, they'll fall. But I think that they're going to have a competitive team because there's no reason they shouldn't have had over the last 8 years.
I agree. And Archie didn't do much this year at Rhode Island. I think Archie starts next year close to the hot seat. He hadn't really gotten it going there at all at Rhode Island. In fact, they started well and then they faded. And I'll be surprised if Mike Woodson coaches again. Maybe he will in the NBA as an assistant coach, but I don't think he'll be a head coach again. So
And the proud thing that I am of our first.
Oh, he's still proud. Still proud. Well, what's up next for you, brother?
I'm heading to Indianapolis tomorrow. Kentucky press conference, and they get ready to play Tennessee. The other game is obviously Kelvin Sampson against Purdue. So a lot of
all kinds of ties there, baby.
A lot of IU interest up there, but Kentucky's already beaten Tennessee twice. Can they do it a third time?
No, that is not going to happen.
Tennessee's a 4.5-point favorite. So we'll see.
And next year, don't forget Kentucky, Indiana.
In Rupp, yeah. In Rupp.
Cannot wait for that.
They're playing. Where's that game with Marquette? Where are they going to play them? New York or Chicago? That's in Chicago.
There you go. Well, brother, we appreciate it as always.
All right. Tomorrow, first pitch.
The Sox on the clock.
That's right. Play the Angels tomorrow in Chicago. It'll be a balmy 27 degrees probably.
I'm so sick and tired of this cold weather. I can't wait to this weekend. Appreciate you, my friend.
Have a good
Rick
weekend.
Bozich, you too, my friend. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Grateful to each and every one of you. Go out, have yourselves a great day. We're back tomorrow to do it all again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.